In what is believed to be a first for Vermont, a person in prison is set to receive gender-affirming surgery. It's a procedure that helps people transition to their self-identified gender and can include facial surgery, top surgery, or bottom surgery.
Baughman is a transgender woman incarcerated at the Chittenden Regional Correctional Facility. She says her doctors and mental health experts have all signed off on her operation. In our special report, Dom Amato spoke exclusively with Baughman about what transition surgery means to her and how the Corrections Department is working on transitioning its protocols for transgender inmates.
Baughman has lived inside Vermont's only prison for women for about 2 years now. She says she was moved here back in December of 2020 after being imprisoned with men for more than 2 decades. Now, despite her incarceration, the transgender woman says she's trying to end the stigma around her gender identity, and she's breaking barriers along the way.
Trying to hide who I was for so long, I think, was responsible for a lot of my life's problems.
Baughman has been in prison since 2001. The transgender woman from Ohio was arrested before she began publicly identifying as a woman.
I am incarcerated for murder.
There's more information tonight about a bizarre murder in the Northeast Kingdom.
I'm saddened and I regret and I'm very remorseful, and I hate how everything just occurred.
Baughman was convicted of killing her mother in Barton in 2001. Police say 51-year-old Susan Kotz was shot in the head and was found in a shallow grave behind her home. How has your life changed since then?
It's changed drastically. I'm an entirely different person.
As young as 8 years old, Baughman says she felt like she was born in the wrong body. She felt like she had to hide her identity, fearing she would be bullied or beaten. But living in secret eventually led to living in a prison cell.
I couldn't process problems back then. I couldn't move past certain things. I just didn't have a grasp on life.
While at out-of-state men's facilities, Baughman tells me staff there just didn't know how to address her transition needs, and that she had been raped multiple times by incarcerated individuals while trying to hide her identity. She tells me that she finally decided enough was enough.
As I opened up and I started to embrace who I was, I started to love who I was. I mean, I hated myself for so long.
She says there were ups and downs with staff, including pronoun misusage and peers who didn't accept her.
The ridicule and all of that goes along with it can be difficult to deal with.
She eventually got transferred to the women's prison in South Burlington. The DOC protocol to relocate is not an easy process to navigate, with paperwork and interviews.
We want to make sure we're getting it right.
Vermont's Corrections Department created a directive on gender identification, care, and custody in 2015. It affirms the department has zero tolerance for discrimination and includes protocols for housing trans people.
We focus on the needs of the individual, the safety for that individual, the safety for the population more broadly.
But Corrections Commissioner Nick Demmel says the directive isn't perfect. Right now, DOC says 19 out of 1,300 incarcerated individuals identify as transgender. All identify as women, but only 5 are housed at the women's facility. 14 are at in-state male facilities. DOC says it reviews all individuals who identify as transgender or gender nonconforming on a case-by-case basis, and placement status is reviewed every 6 months. But that placement can also be reviewed at any time if a request is made.
Trying to figure out the best balance for safety, wellness, health care for all the individuals in our system is really challenging. And so this area introduces some new variables into our process that I think we need to adjust to and be really responsive to.
Baughman says it's been a slow process having DOC adjust care for trans people. She says she didn't start receiving hormone medication treatments until 2018. And the steps to surgery have been a series of interviews and appointments, all hampered by the pandemic.
The process has been very taxing mentally.
That pathway can be agonizingly long and frustrating for a lot of folks.
Dr. Scott Strenio is the DOC medical director. He says trans healthcare has evolved in the last 10 years, inside and outside of these walls. Inside, they implement the community standard of care, offering the same medical treatments as people get outside of prison. That now includes treatment for gender dysphoria, the medical diagnosis for a person who describes a sense of unease because of a mismatch between their biological sex and gender identity.
That's a medical condition that needs to be treated just like any other medical condition.
Baughman says she's met the complicated criteria for the operations. The costs, which could range from just under to more than $100,000, will be covered by taxpayers, as are all healthcare costs for incarcerated individuals.
To make myself more complete as a person, I need the surgeries. It's really not a question of wanting. It's a necessity for me.
Corrections says leaving any medical condition untreated could lead to the possibility of reincarceration.
Our goal is to ensure that they can transition and be released in the community, be successful, be healthy.
For Baughman, it's a new start.
It's like my middle name, Robin Dawn, the dawn of a new era.
And a new opportunity to inspire others struggling with their identity.
I hope that my story might touch anyone out there that's questioning whether or not to come out of hiding. Just be who you are, just be yourself.
Baughman says as humans, we do wrong and then we do better. The now 46-year-old plans to stay in Vermont and live a productive life when she's released. The earliest that could happen is 2034. Reporting in South Burlington, Dom Amato, Channel 3 News.